When conducting a social engineering exercise, so when you're working with the client's personnel, you will have to be able to circumvent some security controls. So the most common of them, of course, is antivirus. And on the social channel, you could encounter this antivirus resistance in many points, but most probably there will be some antivirus in email server. Maybe it will be even some more complicated content filtering solution, but antivirus will be one of its features. And the second point is most probably the Exchange server or whatever mail storage the client is using, right? And the third point will probably be the endpoint, right? So the client's computer that is used by some employee. And there is the third point where antiviruses are normally deployed. So mail transfer agent, Exchange or other mail storage server, and endpoint. These 3 points. A good practice for security is to somehow make this antiviral culture somehow diverse, right? Not to use monoculture, not to install the same engine in all 3 points of this chain, because otherwise you will not be able to catch a lot of malicious software, right? Because you fail once, you fail in all 3 points. So there are situations when clients use all 3 protection layers, and unfortunately, most probably with little knowledge and a lot of effort, you will be able to circumvent all 3 of them, even if the antiviruses are different. So how to do that? First of all, remember that before sending anything, before deploying an agent, as we call this action, before sending the agent via email, you have to test it. You have to test it in a similar environment. So reconnaissance and open source intelligence most probably will give you the idea about what is the client's antivirus version. Okay, they have to. And knowing this, you will be able to either install this antivirus on your virtual environment and then do some testing, or you can upload your samples, your working programs to VirusTotal or some analog that will just show you whether a particular antivirus core is catching your stuff. Okay, but yeah, please avoid VirusTotal, because as more as we use it, we are making all these obfuscation techniques that I'm going to show you less usable. Yeah, so the more we submit to VirusTotal, the more antiviruses are aware about our techniques. So in the end of the day, this is the cat and mouse game, but it is not really clear who is the cat and who is the mouse here in this situation, right? So about the antivirus evasion. So you will have to take some code and you will have to obfuscate it enough to be passed through the antivirus, right? So for that, there are 2 basic approaches. So first, there is Veil framework, Veil evasion, and it is, as far as I know, installed by default in Kali Linux. Okay, and it has a bunch of payloads, 51 for now. And what you have to know here, basically you are supposed to play with as many of them as possible. However, there are some biases. For example, we'll show this in the later stages of using Veil, but you have to know now that Pi installer is one of the ways the obscurity mechanism works here. So we most probably will be willing to use something of this. Yeah, these are cool too, but you have to know that what happens here is basically some polymorphism is employed, and the payload is encrypted by a short key, and once it is run on the host, on the target machine, it simply brute forces the AES key and decrypts itself and then runs from memory. That is less stable than these variants. However, this is has more perspective on antivirus evasion. Okay, so let's use something really simple. Let's use let's say reverse HTTPS, I guess, right? And yeah, here is the screen with some basic configuration of this payload. This is really very Metasploit like. Yeah, so here we can put our host here. What is our host? Okay, here it is. Set our host to our IP address, and then I don't know. Let's see info. Yeah, that's basically what we already know. Yeah, and then we run it. Okay, we have to enter a base name. By default it's payload, and we have to use a verification technique. Okay, so let's use default Pi installer option. So definitely some wine work is performed on the background, and the payload is generated, obfuscated. Yeah, that's it. So we have something generated here, right? In this directory, let's just copy it to a shared folder I have between virtual machines. Yeah, and see what arrives to our Windows host. Okay, so there is some kind of payload. Let's just drag and drop it to desktop and see what happens. Yeah, that's okay for now. So at least Microsoft Defender didn't catch it.